Hello, everyone. And so I will be discussing our readings for week 3 and our 2 essays for week 3 as well. So with essay number 1, one of the first things that I caught was that it stated in the reading that no part, no matter how big or small the role is, it still needs to be very well crafted. And I absolutely agree with that statement. As we all know that there are certain productions where, in any production, there are going to be roles that are bigger than others, and sometimes there are only certain roles that come onto stage for maybe a few minutes, and then they're off stage, and then that is the only time you will see maybe that particular character and actor. But this doesn't mean that those roles deserve any less attention than the lead roles, because any role in a production needs to be carefully crafted. It needs to be, every character in that play needs to have intention behind them. They need to have, their driving force just as the main characters do. Otherwise, whenever they do appear on stage, if it is not crafted well, then their role's not going to make any sense, or the character's not going to make any sense because no time was spent on it. Something else that I noticed in the first reading and that I did mention in the first essay was the discussion of method acting. I do find it very interesting that that was kind of his chosen area or field to kind of study and then teach people about, as a lot of people do probably know that method acting has been a point of controversy in the performance world for a while. There are a lot of people and actors that do agree with method acting, and there are also a lot of people and actors that do not agree with method acting. As we do know, method acting does have a lot of pros and cons. It does have, I think, a little bit more cons than some other forms of acting, but it also has its pros with it. So again, I do find it very interesting that that was kind of his chosen form of what he was teaching people how to do. I would note that if you are teaching method acting, I personally would, tell my students, before we kind of go with method acting, you should know that there are some pretty heavy cons to this. And if method acting is becoming too much for you, I would just kind of let them know that there is a point where they can come to you for help, that method acting is not the only tool. It is a big tool, but it is not the only one that's out there. And then just let them know that if method acting does come too much, that my students would be very welcome to come to me and we'd be able to work through it. I do want them to understand what method acting is, because like I said, it is a big tool. It is used by many different actors, whether they're in theater, TV, or film. And so I do want them to know what it is and that it is out there. So when they hear it or hear about it, they do know exactly what it is. They do know the pros and cons with it. And they know the training that goes into how to do method acting successfully if that's what they decide to do. When it comes to the second essay, one of my biggest takeaways from it was just really kind of learning a lot more about the actor's studio and also kind of what it takes or what their process is to get in, and then how they run things once you are in the actor's studio. So the first thing that I took note of and thought was really cool was that with the actor's studio, you only have to audition once. So once you're in, you're in. You don't have to, it's not like a re-auditioning process. So you don't have to re-audition every so often. I find that extremely awesome because that way, once you're in the actor studio, you don't have to worry about keeping yourself in. You're already in, so then you can actually just really focus your mind and your time on any other projects or works or anything that you want to do. You don't have to worry about keeping yourself there. Second thing that I thought was really great about the actor studio is that it is completely free, that you don't actually have to pay to be in the group. I think that that's amazing, since a lot of times there are actors out there that, they're working on their craft, they're working maybe 1 or 2 jobs and trying to get into shows, and so they don't have to worry about paying for something like that, especially if they are, needing a place where they can work and rehearse and get feedback. They don't have to, it's not going to cost them anything extra, so then they can put their money towards other things, and then they can, again, focus their mind and time on the work that they want to be doing. I also think that it's really cool that in the actor studio you get to choose your own partners, you get to choose your own work. There is no casting or auditioning process. You don't have to wait on anybody. Once you're in, you can start work, and you also have the option, if you wanted to, find different people to work with, which I think is amazing. Because a lot of times when you are working with somebody, sometimes you find people that you may not work with well, but then sometimes you find people that you realize you do work with well. And then also the opportunity to get to work with different actors in different scenes. You also get to pick up a whole bunch of different things from them. So, they could teach you something just kind of by working together that you would have never known, or vice versa. And again, you also, I think, would probably make pretty good friends that way. Again, finding out, what works with you best and what works with other people best. And you get to, if you wanted to, kind of go and change out scene partners. And I also think it's really cool that you get to choose your own material, which means you could definitely go in with like audition stuff, or maybe monologues that you want to do, or like, with your folder of, what you want to use for auditions or for different projects, so that you can keep building that up, because you get to go and practice and learn, what are good like monologues or things for you to do, and then really work on how to do them well. And then that's another thing you can add to your folder of things to bring to auditions. And so I think that's really awesome. All right, so those are some of my thoughts of what I put in my 2 essays for this week. I hope that you guys enjoyed them. Thank you so much.